You are listening to the Health and Wellness Connection podcast, the #1 wellness podcast designed to provide the latest information to help you achieve your health and wellness goals. Our show features exciting guests, the latest in medical research, and in-depth discussions in current trends on weight loss, nutrition, and fitness. No matter what your interest, the Health and Wellness podcast has you covered. And now, presenting your illustrious host, Dr. Barry, MD.
Hello, and welcome to the newest episode of the Health and Wellness Connection. It's your host, Dr. Barry, and I want to thank you for joining us to what I hope will be an interesting and informative episode for you. Now, today, we're going to talk about a kind of different style of show today. We're going to actually do a little bit of news as well, of course, new articles, but we're going to focus on new supplements. Again, we're going to focus on, my favorite supplements. We're going to go over some of the supplements that I recommend, some of the benefits, and why I think you should maybe look at adding them to your regular routine. Now, of course, this is not officially medical advice. It's just something I'm presenting as a health enthusiast and something that I think could be beneficial to you and could maybe address some of the issues you may be dealing with. And of course, before we get into all that, we'll do our normal shout outs. First, I want to thank all the listeners. Please continue sharing and liking the show. And, tell a friend to subscribe. This is available on all podcast platforms, especially, the common ones, Apple Music, Spotify, Google Play, Amazon, and the like. Just have your people type in Health and Wellness Connection. It should be the one to pop up. Also, we are going to, be updating some of the new features of the site very soon. That's going to be coming very soon. I'll keep you posted on that. And, yes, if you want to reach out to me, you can you can email me at drbarryhealth@gmail.com. That's drbarryhealth@gmail.com. We're also on TikTok at Dr. Barry Health. Also on Twitter as Dr. Barry Tech Doc. And last but not least, Instagram at Dr. Barry MD. That's BARRY. Again, Dr. Barry MD. Thanks. So today's show, a couple of news articles came across my desk. I want to chat about those here briefly. Now, the first one looks at the potential link between light at night and more disease. So it was interesting how, they've noticed that people who live in urban areas, that there's tends to have higher levels of certain illnesses, chronic issues like diabetes, high blood pressure, heart attack, stroke, Alzheimer's, even low sperm quality. All these things have been seen to be linked with folks who stay in areas that have a large amount of light on at night. So this will be mainly urban areas. If you're in downtown parts of cities, there's constant light throughout the night from different, billboards and stoplights and overhead lights and all these different things that tend to have, they give off illumination. So they're saying that those studies now are showing that people who have exposure to light at night tend to have different types of inflammatory markers that are increasing, which could potentially link this light exposure to possible disease. And this disease goes across all different spectrums. Different studies have shown different links. Like one study that was done in California, over 100,000 teachers that were looked at as far as their overall living situation. And it found that those that were living in areas with a lot of night pollution, so downtown areas, urban areas, they had a 12% higher risk of cancer, specifically breast cancer in this study. Another study looked at Alzheimer's disease, and they found that those who had a lot of outdoor lights at night, there was a strongly linked increase in Alzheimer's disease in those populations. There's even one that showed a link between diabetes, that people who live in the more illuminated areas of a city have a 28% higher risk of diabetes. Now, many would argue that, okay, can you say only it's the light? Because technically, if you're in an urban city, you're probably up and about all times of the day and night, probably not sleeping well. You may be exposed to more stressful and dangerous activities like smoking, drinking, hanging out, and so forth. So this is definitely not, something you can definitively say the lights are certainly linked but it's definitely potentially an indicator of increased risk of behaviors that may be associated with some of these illnesses as well. So that's one thing you have to take into account. This is more observational than not actually doing a direct link and isolating for other issues. So now, as a result, many scientists are saying that because of this light potential link in health, that maybe a more focused effort should be done to help reduce lights at night, and maybe there could potentially be some health benefit here. Now, why do they say this? Well, they believe that light at night, indoors or outdoors, actually disrupts your circadian rhythm, right? The circadian rhythm is that internal clock that regulates, our sleep and wake cycles. It's very important for normal cell function. And when this clock is disrupted, you have increased risk of inflammation, which also affects, division of cells, which is how the body replenishes cells that are worn out. It also suppresses melatonin. Melatonin is a very known important hormone. It's called the hormone of darkness because it helps actually stimulate certain activities that we do when we're sleeping. Sleep is something we do that's critically important for normal health. It helps regenerate the body. A lot of cells kind of regenerate, food gets digested. A lot of things happen. The body kind of cleans up itself, if you will. Melatonin is one of those hormones that regulate some of those functions. So when you don't sleep as well and lights are on, decreased melatonin can cause many negative effects, including increased inflammation, and other things. So very important that, our light exposure is kind of modulated. So at nighttime, we're having things darker, allowing the body to do what it should do during those darker periods. And the interesting thing is that this phenomenon is seen in multiple species. It's not just a human thing, right? So hamsters, zebras, mice, crickets, mosquitoes, all these animals move and operate based on their light exposure in the whole 24-hour cycle of day and night. So this is actually critical for normal human function. So if you're not sleeping, you're up all night, bright lights 24/7, it's actually negatively affecting your health, increased inflammation, and can actually be very, very dangerous for you in the long term. So I think this is a very interesting kind of topic because you don't really see too many people talking about this light and the over excessive light. Now, flip side, other countries, like developing countries like my country, West Africa, Nigeria specifically, where there's not as much light and the light is an issue. You see people by force are having to shut it down at night because of the lack of this 24-hour light, which actually could be a healthy thing given this study's information. So it's funny how development and kind of infrastructure can sometimes contribute negatively to our health. And this study is showing that people who are in urban, ultra-developed societies where light is pretty much a 24-hour thing, there is a risk that the light exposure can lead to increased risk of certain illnesses and so forth. So this is an interesting phenomenon. Hopefully this is more of an observational study, though. They just kind of researched various articles. And but I think we need like a more direct kind of correlation to be established, and that is going to take more research. So in the meantime, make sure you're getting your sleep. I think that's really the bottom line of the study. 6 to 8 hours a night. Keep the lights dim and dark. Maybe consider wearing an eye mask just to help kind of emphasize the darkness so that your body can do what it has to do at night. And just take care of yourself, guys, and sleep. Get that sleep. So important. Now, speaking of sleep, the next study looks right actually at sleep and potentially looks how it's tied to brain aging. So in a nutshell, this article talks about how poor sleep in early midlife can cause accelerated brain aging. So that's something that we've been trying to figure out in science for many years, how the body ages, how the brain ages, how do we prevent those illnesses like dementia, Alzheimer's, things that develop as a result of the brain not functioning at its highest level. This can be due to different proteins being reduced in concentration in the brain, different synapses not firing appropriately in the brain, causing the brain to not function at its top level. This is why many supplements, many kind of treatments have been looking at trying to maintain the brain health. And we know one way to do that is to get adequate sleep. Very important. Another one is also making sure your circulation is controlled, meaning your blood pressure levels are well controlled. It helps kind of promote proper and regular infusion of blood into the brain to help it function properly. But there's still not a lot of clear data as far as what needs to be done specifically. And one thing we're seeing, though, is that sleep may be one of the most critical components of maintaining brain health. So a recent study came out. They looked at about 590 participants, average age of 40 years old, and they looked at people's brain waves on MRI, and they looked at them and how they slept, monitored their brain function, did scans of the brain, looked at the anatomy, and just to monitor how, their brains age. And this was done, over a 15-year period. So they did it when they were 40, then 15 years later, they reassessed them, did some scans, and of course, they gave them surveys as well to kind of have them rate their sleep patterns and have them rate their overall health and everything. So what they found is that those who were sleeping well, getting their 6 to 8 hours of sleep, had definitely better brain health. So stronger brain waves, higher brain activity. They had less signs of dementia, Alzheimer's. And they just really emphasize that sleeping is critical, especially in your early midlife, so early 30s and 40s. You got to be sleeping well so that you can be having a sharp and adequate brain function in your later years, 70s to 80s. Now, I guess it's hinting that because they only selected mid-age people, this can only really be applied to them. And the study's not very large either, so, we probably need larger studies and looking at a larger group to get more kind of solid data. But it does show that, not sleeping is going to affect your brain health. And the midlife is really important because that's kind of when you're kind of, getting through the majority of your major part of your life, and you're going to retire and have a slower life. So, you want your health to be, as good as it can. So when you get into your older and later years, you're able to function and have a functional life. I mean, dementia is one of the diseases that's probably one of the most debilitating, mainly because you lose your mind, you lose your memories, and it becomes very difficult to function in normal society. Most patients who have severe dementia require 24-hour care, and it can just be very difficult to really continue to, have those fulfilling moments that you enjoyed in your earlier days. So I think brain health is one of the most important things that need to be monitored, and I think this is why, sleeping well, and maybe some supplements that we're going to also talk about as well, they can be beneficial in helping reduce, brain damage and reducing, brain injury, if you will. So yes, brain health, very important, guys. And getting good sleep is critical to maintain it. So try to get your rest. All right, guys. So the next topic I want to discuss talks about one of the things we've discussed on this show for many, many months, if not years at this point. And that is the presence of endocrine disrupting chemicals, guys. And I was excited because I actually saw an article in CNN Health today that looked at these endocrine disrupting chemicals and how they're literally everywhere, and could be one of the major reasons we have a lot of chronic illness in this country, in most developing countries. So what are endocrine disrupting chemicals? Okay, so the main endocrine disrupting chemicals are phthalates, as well as BPA, bisphenol A, and brominated flame retardants. These things that we've discussed, that are in many different items we use, and most things we're exposed to every day, including packaged items, things in plastics. You got like the nonstick pan residue. Just the things that, have been shown to create these endocrine disrupting chemicals as a result of the plastics and the other chemicals combining with the substances that they're usually packaged in. For instance, phthalates are used commonly in cosmetic agents. So if you're putting your favorite foundation on and it's full of phthalates, these things then enter into the body, actually disrupt normal endocrine function. It can be very, debilitating, and sometimes a progenitor for different illnesses. So these things have been suspected as being concerning for the normal health and regular biological function. And it's believed that, these things are actually some of the major reasons why you have increased rates of various illnesses like diabetes, cancer, strokes, and heart attacks, and the like. It's believed that these chemicals can actually deposit into the inner lining of our blood vessels, affecting blood flow, causing peripheral vascular disease and other potential issues. And they also increase inflammation as well. So it's just a lot of negative side effects, these ailments. Now, I've talked about this extensively on many shows, guys. Check the archives if you're kind of more curious as far as the detail and why they are so deadly. But the bottom line is that these things are forever chemicals. They stay in your body indefinitely, can lead to a lot of different, issues, including endocrine disruption, affecting normal endocrine function, and can lead to a lot of different side effects. So it's been kind of, the alarm has been raised. Many people are now aware of these things, and they're trying to actively find ways to reduce their exposure. I tell you to personally avoid plastic containers. Focus on using glass. Metal containers are much better. The Stanley Cups are actually a great phenomenon because they're eliminating the exposure you get with the plastic bottles of water. Get you a, let's say for instance, if you love water, I'm a fan of the reverse osmosis system. Get one in your house, set it up under your sink. It's about $200-$300. You can actually filter your water to the level of a, commercial plastic bottle of water, and then you can fill it up in a metal container like a Stanley Cup or any kind of insulated container and get that water intake without having to buy 20,000 bottles of plastic water, which creates a lot of waste as well with the plastics, and just a very kind of destructive way to get your water in. So ultimately, phthalates are something that are a byproduct of being in a developed society, and I think that it's important that we look at ways to eliminate our exposure to these things. And this CNN article is actually very interesting. It kind of goes into detail as far as some of the ways that phthalates we're exposed to them and how we can avoid them. So I highly recommend it, guys. I'm gonna link this article on the Twitter page, Dr. Barry Tech Doc, and check it out there. And of course, if you have any concerns or questions, you can reach out to me as well, and I'll try my best to answer them. But ultimately, endocrine disrupting chemicals are everywhere, guys. Try to, more whole foods, less packaged items, fresh fruits and vegetables, things like that are very critical. And we're going to actually talk about some very good foods that are also great to help counteract some of these chemicals, especially these free radical supplying chemicals that can cause cancer and different things like that. And those are mainly antioxidants. Antioxidants are some of the most important things you can eat. And we're going to talk about some supplements and things you can use to help improve your antioxidant profile so that you can help fight some of these exposures and reduce inflammation that's caused by some of these items. All right, guys, so enough for the news. Let's talk about the next part of the show, and that's supplements, guys. I have some awesome supplements and different things I want to discuss today that, we're going to just talk about them because they're some of my favorite ones you can introduce into your regular routine. And I think you'll get some benefits. Personally, I think for anything that you do start, please talk with your official primary care practitioner to make sure that it's compatible with your overall lifestyle as well as your medication. Sometimes some of these, they're all natural herbs, but they also are biologically active and they can potentially interact with medication that you're currently taking. So just be aware. But I do want to talk about some things. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is mushroom coffee. Mushroom coffee is something that has been around for some time, but many people are now, getting to see them as something to maybe consider adding to their regular routine. Now, mushroom coffee is a complex subject, so we're not going to talk about all the things about mushrooms, but essentially mushroom coffee is just a blend of coffee and mushroom powder. Now, these mushroom powders are actually derived from natural mushrooms that are dried and ground up, and usually it's mixed with coffee on a one-to-one basis to kind of give it a way to be ingested. Mushrooms are something that have been around for thousands of years, very common in the Ayurvedic medical system, which is around India, parts of Asia, and they've actually been big on medicinal mushrooms as a way to treat various illnesses. Certain mushroom strains have been associated with very specific health benefits, and these health benefits vary from different areas. One of the biggest ones is reishi, which is R-E-I-S-H-I, which is one mushroom strain that's been linked with improved immunity. So people who are having issues with illnesses or chronic illness usually take this, can help them improve their immunity and help them, fight illnesses. Now, another mushroom known as chaga is very well known for its high antioxidant content. Antioxidants, something that we talk about on the show at length. Antioxidants are great to eat because they neutralize toxins in the body, which can help reduce inflammation, reduce cancer, reduce all sorts of issues, heart attacks, strokes, and the like. So certain mushrooms have certain benefits. Lion's mane is another very popular mushroom strand or strain, and it's actually helpful for improved neurologic function, improved focus ability. Your body kind of, it's almost like a stimulant for the brain. Doesn't cause any kind of cardiac issues as far as palpitations that you see with synthetic stimulants, but it can actually have an increased ability for you able to focus. So many people who are trying to have like an Adderall type effect take lion's mane, and they have, it's been shown to be very effective in that regard. The different mushrooms have different effects, but those ones, particularly the reishi, the chaga, lion's mane are some of the more popular variations. There's so many different other ones, and there's so many that have not been discovered. It's believed in certain parts of Asia. There's so many different mushrooms that have not actually been studied yet, because there's just so many different varieties, and they're all believed to have various medicinal properties. So I think the whole concept of medicinal mushrooms is going to be something that's going to really be, I think, further explored, as there are many scientists and research products being done, but mostly in Asia where it's more popular. But there's some of the more popular strains are making its way over to Western shores. So I think mushroom coffee is something that has been really underrated, and I'm a fan of it. And I do take some mushroom coffee, especially those with lion's mane, is one of my favorites. And overall, mushroom coffee can be available in many different varieties. Most of the time it's just pre-mixed with some sort of coffee blend, and it can be kind of an instant kind of coffee. Just open up a packet, and it's actually lower in caffeine than regular coffee, because again, the mushrooms actually have a stimulative effect. So when it's combined with low levels of caffeine, you have a very kind of similar effect you get with a full caffeinated beverage. So if you're looking at something at reducing caffeine intake, but you still want, some of those benefits that caffeine does provide, like stimulation, more alertness, ability to focus, consider using mushrooms with various, especially the lion's mane strain, can help achieve that without as much caffeine as you would have to take previously. So again, for people who are looking for a kind of immune support, as well as increase focus, increase immunity, also there's some benefits. It's believed to help in reducing cholesterol levels, which can help with heart disease prevention. So there's just a lot of benefits that they're seeing with mushrooms, and something I would definitely recommend. Now with mushrooms, you don't want to just take any mushroom. Like there's people who have mushrooms growing in their backyard, randomly kind of just popped up. Don't eat those. Again, mushrooms, there's some that are very toxic and actually be very dangerous, can cause nausea, vomiting, and actually got a lot of severe issues. So you don't want to just pick mushrooms anyhow. Mushrooms are something that require someone who knows how to cultivate them. So I highly recommend health food stores as a good source to finding mushrooms, and maybe using those as part of your, medicinal journey, if you will. And again, very important, if you are considering that, talk with someone who knows something about mushrooms to make sure you're getting the correct variety, as there's literally thousands of different mushroom varieties. So it's very important that where you get them from, there's a clear idea where they came from, and make sure that the purity is in order. So, but again, mushroom coffees that are prepackaged, they tend to have done this already. So if you go to a health food store, you see mushroom coffees there, definitely look at those, especially with lion's mane, reishi, chaga, those strains, and they should have a nice blend, equal blend to coffee, and that'll probably be your best bet. Now do keep in mind, mushroom coffees tend to be more expensive than regular coffee, because the mushrooms tend to be a lot more valuable, a lot more harder to get, but it shouldn't be that bad. Just again, health food stores will probably be your best source for good quality, high quality mushroom coffees. All right, so supplement number 2, or I would say one of my favorite supplements here, is ashwagandha. Ashwagandha, one of those supplements that are been used again in Eastern medicine. It's known as an adaptogen, meaning that it helps the body deal with stress. We would call it an anti-anxiety med here in Western medicine, but this is different because it comes from plants. It's actually a shrub that's popular around Asia, Africa, and Europe. The official name of the shrub is Withania somnifera. That's the scientific name, but it's not really important. Ashwagandha is what it's known as because it's believed that the roots of the plant smell like a wet horse. So ultimately, and that's a Sanskrit, but it's an old school name because it's been around forever. And it's something that's been used amongst Indian and Chinese medicine practitioners. And it's believed that it helps people withstand stress, and it helps the body tolerate stress. And this is something that was known kind of holistically amongst the practitioners, but it's actually been proven scientifically. It's been shown that people who take ashwagandha may potentially have lower cortisol levels when dealing with stressful situations. It actually have reduced stress anxiety perception amongst people who take it. So it actually also helps with sleeplessness. So basically insomnia. If you're not sleeping well, I believe ashwagandha can help with your sleep-wake cycle and allow the body to relax and sleep for longer periods. And it's overall great for anxiety, and also has some effect on blood pressure. It's believed that it can help lower blood pressure. So ashwagandha is one of those drugs that I think if taken can be extremely beneficial, especially for someone who's living in a stressful environment where you constantly feel like you're stressed out. I think something that you can definitely try as a herbal over-the-counter supplement before going to more harder prescription agents that are definitely linked with a lot of side effects. Now, a lot of the research on ashwagandha comes out of India, comes out of Asia, where they've studied people's exposure to ashwagandha and some of the benefits that they were able to appreciate. Many people, again, from the studies that have been published, while a lot of them are very small, which I think is because of the fact that it's a natural supplement, so you can't really patent it. So that kind of removes that financial bonus that you would get. So you don't see that much research, and unfortunately that's the way medicine goes these days. But the research that has been done has shown that there are improvements in stress levels and sleep quality for those who take it. You also have people noticing the lower serum cortisol levels, and cortisol is a stress hormone, which we talked about last show, and how when it's very, very high, it's been linked with a lot of inflammation, a lot of chronic illness. So better sleep, lower stress. I think this is a great drug to use to help kind of modulate that if you're someone dealing with that. And especially because it's a very low side effect profile, I mean, it's extremely well tolerated. You can actually, if it's natural herb, so you can actually handle a lot of it. Not that you should. It's believed about 450 to 1,000 milligrams a day could be effective in helping produce those anti-anxiety effects. And I think it's a great, supplement to consider if you're looking at something to help with stress and anxiety, and maybe even lower your blood pressure. So, of course, if you're someone taking blood pressure medication, you want to be kind of monitoring your blood pressure if you're on this med to ensure you don't have anything significantly dropping your pressure. But that being said, again, you want to talk with your doctor if you're considering adding this to your daily regimen. Now, full disclosure, I do take ashwagandha and I do love it. And I think it's something that, if you are someone who looking for helping modulate your stress response, ashwagandha could be a great choice. All right, so the next supplement is ginseng. Ginseng, again, one of the oldest supplements out here, been around for centuries, literally. Ginseng basically is part of a rooty plant. It's a short plant, grows in the ground, light-colored fork-shaped root. Just an overall, standard root-looking plant, but it's extremely, extremely popular and has so many different benefits that many cultures consider it one of the best supplements you can take. Some of the, there's different parts. Ginseng grows all over America, grows in Asia, and they're both, I think, fairly effective. Now, the main benefits of ginseng that has been described including energy boosting. So if you're someone who's frequently tired, it can help boost your energy levels. It can also help lower your blood sugar. It's been shown that ginseng can help increase your insulin sensitivity, increase your body's ability to metabolize insulin, therefore keeping sugar levels low. Also can reduce stress. So if you're someone who's constantly stressed out, it helps your body adapt to stress, similar to ashwagandha, and also can promote relaxation, treat diabetes. It's an anti-inflammatory substance as well, so it helps with those chronic inflammation-related illnesses. It can also help manage erectile dysfunction in men. So again, for my fellas out here who are having trouble with sexual activity, ginseng may be a great supplement to add to help improve your sexual performance. So I think ginseng just has so many great benefits that is something that I recommend all my patients take, just because it just has so many things that can boost your quality of life. Now, many people think that ginseng is some sort of random herb, but ginseng is one of the few natural supplements that actually has a lot of good research because it's been around so long and many cultures have used it. And there's countless studies showing how people who had been taking ginseng had increased energy levels and also had increased mental and physical activity. So they were thinking better, thinking clearer, more active, and so forth. There's also belief that ginseng is very strong in helping fight cancer-related fatigue. So cancer patients who were taking ginseng had increased energy levels, were more active, and seemed to have increased quality of life. It's also believed to be a link with cognitive function. Like ginseng apparently helps the brain function at a higher level, according to some studies. Now this is kind of difficult to test, but they've noted that people who were taking ginseng, especially one study that was done in 2016, not that big, only 14 people. Average age was 75 years old, so older population. And they found that those who were on ginseng had improved or better performance on cognitive function tests. So if you're someone who, especially if you're older and you're seeing that maybe you're not thinking as clearly, ginseng could be a great supplement to help kind of improve brain function as well as improve brain acuity. Ginseng also has anti-inflammatory effects. So it affects, the inflammation levels, can help reduce those levels like cortisol and other inflammatory hormones. So ginseng is something that can help with inflammation, which we know is one of the cornerstones of illness. So getting inflammation down cannot be a bad thing. And there's also studies showing that ginseng can have a direct effect on improving erectile dysfunction. Many small studies have looked at this as well, found that those people who take ginseng noted improved performance in sexual activity with improved erections and improved sexual enjoyment. So, I think that's something that is not talked about a lot, but it's something that I think should be noted because, again, improved sexual health is something that can be directly related to improved quality of life. So you want to make sure you're considering that if you're someone who suffers from erectile dysfunction. And of course, lowering blood sugar is something ginseng has been linked with as well. Many studies have been shown that ginseng can be a really good medication to add in the regimen of someone who has diabetes. It's going to help the body improve insulin resistance as well as improving the body's ability to metabolize insulin. Right now, of course, Ozempic and all these other drugs that crave these GLP-1 inhibitor, the GLP-1 agonists. Now, they're very good, but ginseng has been around a long time and it can be effective in many of those similar areas as far as blood sugar regulation. So again, I'm a big fan of ginseng. I take it regularly. I think it's something that if you're looking at improving your overall mental acuity, as well as, with blood pressure effects and blood sugar effects, I think this is a great medication to take to help overall function and sexual health. All right, next supplement I'm a big fan of is beetroot. Beetroot is a common, and beets as well. Beets, beetroot, the whole beet plant is just an amazing plant. And there's many people who've kind of really started to explore how beneficial beets are. And I'm going to talk a little bit about why I think beets are some of the most nutritious, most important vegetables you can consume. And if you don't like the actual plant supplement, like a beet-based supplement, is also a good idea as well. Now, beets are they're rich in folate, which is very important for overall health, blood production, heart health, and everything else. So they're very nutrient dense, a lot of nutrients, including manganese, copper, potassium, magnesium, vitamin C, vitamin B6, iron. So they're excellent as far as the micronutrient concentration. That helps with so many different functions, which we're going to go into right now. Beets are great for blood pressure as well. So they can actually help reduce your blood pressure, and that's due to their high concentration of nitrates. Nitrates are precursors to one substance known in the body by nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is an important element, or not element, it's an important chemical because it actually can help relax your blood vessels, causing your blood pressure to lower, and actually can dilate your blood vessels, improving circulation throughout your body. This includes improved brain circulation, which is good for helping prevent brain injury. Also improves circulation throughout your organs. So especially when you're working out and you're in the gym or you're running or walking and you have good blood flow to your muscles, it helps reduce muscle fatigue. It helps also improve muscle recovery. So it's great for people who are active. If you're taking beets, you're going to be able to work out longer, work out harder, and have shorter recovery periods. So something that's very important, I think, if you're active. And if you're listening to the show, you probably are. So beet, the actual fruit or vegetable, you can call it, or the supplement can be great supplements so that you can be able to do better athletically. So this is something that has not really been stressed enough, I think. But, people who drink beetroot juice, they tend to have a better stamina. Their muscles tend to have improved stamina as well. And they're just overall able to perform harder. This has actually been shown in research. There was one study that looked at cyclers, and they found that those who were taking beetroot juice were able to go longer and had improved cycling performance, and had better oxygen use, up to 20% better. So if you're metabolizing oxygen that much more efficiently because your vessels are dilated, you get a good blood flow, you're going to perform better. So I think beetroot juice should be something that people consume, especially if you're athletic. All athletes need to be taking this to help improve their blood flow and to overall, improve their physical performance. Now, it also can help with inflammation. Beets have a lot of antioxidants and pigments. Beta-lanes is the big one in beets. And with these, these chemicals, these anti-inflammatory chemicals that are in these beets, you can have decreased inflammation, which is of course great for decreasing cancer risk, decreasing heart risk, decreasing diabetes risk. So it just helps prevent a lot of different illnesses just because of these anti-inflammatory properties. So you're lowering your blood pressure, you're lowering your inflammation, you're improving your circulation. I mean, it's just a great overall food. Now, there's some people who, instead of taking beets, they'll take supplements like L-arginine, which is another supplement that can help in these areas. But I think taking the natural version is always better, especially if you're eating raw beets or eating, some mildly cooked beets. You get the fiber in the beets, you get the nutrients, the micronutrients like the magnesium, the copper, as well as the nitrates, which are helpful for the vasodilation. So I think beets are the best option. If you're someone that doesn't like beets, maybe consider taking a beetroot supplement or consider taking L-arginine if you want those vasodilatory effects. So yeah, beets are just, I think, one of the best fruits, best foods you could eat. There's some shown evidence of it helping with cognitive function. So there's a lot of nitrates as well, which are helpful with brain circulation, helping the body get good blood flow to the brain. So anything that does that is going to help your brain function, because your body needs fresh blood with levels of glucose that can help it function properly. And this is why, good circulation is critical for good health. So making sure you're keeping your blood flow active. When your blood gets cut off, that's when badness occurs. I don't care where it's at, be it your heart, be it your brain, be it your muscles. Lack of blood flow can cause issues, cause illness, cause cell and tissue death, which is not good. So you want good blood flow. So I'm a big fan of taking nitrates. Beet-related substances can be chock full of nitrates, which will help your blood flow, which will overall help your health and wellness. So so there's so many things you can do with beets that it can be a whole different show. We can do a whole show on beets, honestly, but in a nutshell, beets can help blood flow, help circulation, decrease inflammation, decrease blood pressure, and it's overall fantastic for health. So highly recommend beets. Any beet-related kind of beet-related supplement is going to be great. Raw beets will be best, obviously, but sometimes you want to just get a pill and you be over with it. So I'm not someone who's against that as well. All right, guys. So the next and last supplement is ginger. Ginger is something that, of course, is a very popular spice, but it's actually a very fantastic supplement to take as well. I'm a fan of using using ginger in foods, ginger-based snacks, and just overall, even the raw ginger, chewing on it can be excellent as well to get ginger in your system. Now let's talk about ginger a little bit. First, it's the flowering plant, comes from Southeast Asia. It's, again, a very commonly used spice, closely related to turmeric, cardamom, and galangal. So it's, again, a root as well, similar to the other root we talked about, ginseng. But ginger is interesting because it can be dried, it can be fried, it can be powdered, it can be oiled down, turned into a juice. It's just so many ways you can make it and make it into a tincture. So many different ways you can actually consume it and preserve it. And it's very potent medicinal plant. It's been used for centuries as a medicine, and then also tastes good, so the people use it, even though the taste could be arguable. But it can be used, I think, very effectively in different foods to give it a different flavor, and it's also very, very nutritious. So some of the things that ginger is well known for is helping with upset stomach. So if you're nauseous, especially if you're pregnant, and you want something that's going to help reduce that nausea you get, ginger's been very effective for that. It also is good for after eating. So if you eat something, you want to kind of help your body digest the food better. Ginseng-based teas are very popular. Can be helpful in reducing helping the stomach function more effectively. Many people use it for weight loss as well, because people who take ginger, apparently it's helpful in its ability to reduce inflammation, and actually can help reduce hunger. So if you're eating and you want to try to reduce your body's cravings, ginger can help reduce that, because the stomach is part of that whole craving hungry kind of mechanism. It's believed that people who take ginger can help them reduce those cravings, so reducing excessive calorie consumption. Now, ginger is also believed to be a very strong anti-inflammatory agent, so it can significantly reduce inflammation in the body. This is why it's very effective for people who have osteoarthritis. So if you have arthritis, a lot of inflammation is probably the hallmark of that illness. People who take ginger can actually reduce their arthritic inflammation. This was shown in some studies have actually shown this. Once they looked at people who took ginger, 1 gram of ginger per day for 3 to 12 weeks, and they found that those who took that had decreased inflammation, decreased pain, decreased disability. These are known arthritis patients. So if you're someone who does not have arthritis, ginger can be a great way to help keep those inflammation levels in check so you can help reduce that arthritis risk. Now, there's also been shown improved blood sugar management as well as heart disease risk. So again, people who take ginger tend to have low inflammation, which I told you before affects your body's ability to create inflammatory mediators, which are known to destroy the heart vessels and cause those things like heart disease, heart attacks, and the like. So I think with ginger, there's so many things that they've shown that it's been helpful in reducing, from cholesterol levels to blood pressure levels. It actually helped with menstrual pain as well. And of course, given the reduced inflammation, you have reduced risk of cancer, reduced risk of diabetes, reduced risk of heart disease, just because of the decreased inflammation that people who take ginger tend to get. So it's just, another of those drugs that is so important, I think, in helping your body function better, that it's something I think people should look at taking. And I would recommend a fresh ginger. Just chew on a little small amount of ginger every day, or maybe mix it in with your food. I'm a fan of putting it in coffee as well. Take a little couple shades of ginger, put it in your coffee, or you can actually dry it out too if you like. Make oil out of it. There's so many different ways to take ginger, but it's a great, I think, supplement, fresh or even in the processed form. But I think getting it in your system can help with a lot of different normal functions that the body goes through. So, all right, guys, so that's enough today. We've done a lot as far as supplements today. Hopefully some of these will help improve or expose you to different things you may not have realized. And I would recommend maybe choosing one and see how you feel. And if you like it, maybe choose another one. But ultimately, I think there's so many different things we could talk about. And we'll have more shows like this where we talk about things that I think that may be a good idea for you to look at as far as incorporating to your daily routine. Many things out here that are causing harm to our bodies. So I think looking at those substances that are helpful and potentially beneficial for long-term health are going to be, I think, part of our job here on this show. I'll make sure that we bring those to you as we feel comfortable doing so. So again, that's the end of today's show. Health and Wellness Connection is brought to you by Health and Wellness Radio, one of the, I think, most respected health and wellness shows on the interwebs. Please, guys, tell your friends and family, share with your colleagues, and you will see this all over the internet as soon as we upload it. And we thank you guys for listening to the show. Until next time, peace.
Thank you for listening to the Health and Wellness Connection podcast and radio show. For more information on ways to get healthy, please check us out. www.anchor.fm/HW Connection. Here you can re-listen to the show, check out older shows, and even further support the show by becoming a subscriber to the podcast. Please check us out today. Again, that's anchor.fm/HW Connection. And also, don't forget to follow Dr. Barry on Instagram at drbarrymd. Until next time, stay healthy.